Hey everyone, so good news, we have got a date. A patch date. Yes, 10.17 is officially arriving September 5th, and Blizzard have now graced us with a new updated roadmap. This one in particular is interesting though because, well, take a look right closely. Is that Veranoth and Phyrexia staring each other down, or am I just seeing things? No, I think it's them facing down, which certainly is a bit of a lore hint. Anyway, I bet we're going to find out soon because there is another important date coming up before the patch launches. This cheeky little tweet from a WoW community manager was the final piece of the puzzle that we've been pondering for a while. When will we see the 10.17 story cinematic? And after that, when will we see 10.2? I think next week. Probably, and then after Gamescom, for those two questions. So here's the deal. Blizzard want World of Warcraft to be back in that public consciousness. Dragonflight has actually proven that their player retention is up, so the next thing they've got to do is stand on a very public stage and say, hello everybody, World of Warcraft is good again, we're literally not the devil anymore, here's a reason to come back. And it just so happens that Gamescom's opening night live, by all accounts, is getting a fairly major gaming showcase, and that's in 10 days' time. It might seem a bit fast, but if you think about 10.1, they basically self-leaked 10.07 cinematic before the patch. That's the one that introduced the Incarnates, and they did that so they could drop the 10.1 announcement right after and try to keep that hype train rolling. Now, with how little time we've got before BlizzCon, and an almost guaranteed expansion announcement at that BlizzCon, they're going to have to go at a blistering pace to get us through to patch 10.2 and then to show us what 10.3 will be. Speaking of a blistering pace, you should rush right over to store.bellular.games to check out the Pale Beyond merch drop. Yes, here, by the way, is the collector's edition vinyl. 2 vinyls, in fact. It's very lovely. Then get ready for some very, very minor Heritage questline spoilers, because the Trading Post objective has actually shown us the chapter titles, and man, you should almost certainly set aside some time on patch day. The Night Elf one actually looks grim and awesome. It deals with darkness, ancient curses, corruption, shadows, terror, and wrath, but it's also about taking action. It seems the Night Elves will face a lot of their 10,000-year-old traumas and come out on top. For the Forsaken, then, it seems like they are ready to resolve their identity crisis. A trip back to Maldraxxus, a fight against their mortal enemy, the Scarlet Brotherhood, and a tough pill to swallow around Sylvanas abandoning them. And then at the end, it seems they find out who they really are and return to Lordaeron. Honestly, I'm kind of pumped for these. Based on the previous ones, I actually think they should be pretty damn good. Now, the Night Elf Heritage set has officially not been shown yet, but per the data mining, it's looking real good lately. And the Forsaken one just got a chest strap, so potentially that's a variant, and some new 3D spikes on the gloves. Yeah, top tier work, Blizzard, actually. They look fantastic. Though, if they only end up having one coloration, that would be a lost opportunity compared to, say, what humans got. So let's hope for that. Big news, the Turbulent Timeways event was awesome. It was 6 straight weeks of time walking with an upgraded reward. Well, apparently Blizzard actually doesn't think it's good enough, so now they're tuning it up a notch. This time, Turbulent Timeways comes with an XP buff and a mount reward if you are very, very dedicated. Right, there's a potion with no known source. It's called the Distilled Knowledge of the Timeways. When you pop it, it gives you a 2% XP buff per stack. The duration then is extended by an hour up to a maximum of 5 hours by doing a time-walking dungeon. At 10 stacks, this changes to a new buff that gives you 30% of a boost instead of 20%, and it gives you 1 week of progress towards the new achievement, which is for the Sandy Shale Wing mount, which isn't particularly special, but if you want it, it does come from maxing out this buff for 5 consecutive weeks. Thing is, though, there actually might be more, because Associate Game Director Jeremy Fiesel, also known as Muffinus, also known as the guy who does secrets in WoW, tweeted directly saying that they're actually trying new things to make this a bit easier to get into and to get gear from. So overall now, we've got a 30% XP buff that seemingly doesn't apply to the end of dungeon reward, which is where most of the time walking dungeon XP comes from, but I guess being able to stack the buff and then say go into a Dream Surge zone, which itself has got a 25% XP bonus active at all times, that sometimes is also a 75% XP bonus, then I guess you duck into the dungeon, do the dungeon, extend the buff, while having a humongous amount of experience when you're out in the zone, like over 100% of a boost. Yeah, I suppose that'll make the 50% XP buff from the Diablo 4 launch event look kinda small. Hopefully, they also open up time walking to be below level 60, because right now you can only do it from 60 to 70. So, come on Blizzard, let's extend that backwards. All that goodness being said, I think there's a bit of an issue though. I hope Blizzard catches this. So currently we don't know, but we think the potions may drop from time walking dungeons, and you can only hold 5 of them at a time. Now, if they drop like 1 for each dungeon, then that means you need to do 5 dungeons, pop all 5 potions, then do another 5, then pop all of them just to start that special maxed out buff. Now that is a pretty damn hefty ask when it needs 5 consecutive weeks for what is a pretty damn mid mount. So yeah, kind of tricky, to be honest with you. I wish this was just done on a weekly basis and they just said, screw it, do 5 time walking dungeons a week, get your piece of heroic gear, get your buff, be happy. I think that would just be easier for most people. Anyhow, all the same, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth because all of this does sound like a pretty cool idea, and it's nice to see the team actually experiment and get a bit aggressive. Next then, mystery. The Arcane Forge. What the hell is it? I have no idea, and you have no idea. Officially, anyway. Because the Arcane Forge is this Draenei-looking thing that is so important it's got its own mini-map icon. It popped up in the PTR with no warning and no explanation. Nobody's got a clue what it is, but one of our guildies had a pretty brilliant idea. Remember these swords, right? These were from early Dragonflight data mining. They're primed for the trading post, obviously, but there is another hint. New heritage armors tend to have color variations, right? Old heritage armors didn't, except for this one. So, the Lightforge set has an unused purple variant in the file, so here's a bit of a hypothesis. The Draenei questline, the one that unlocks the red customizations, will perhaps also unlock this Arcane Forge, which could be used by the Draenei to craft appearances of this, unused armor and sword set. Perhaps. Maybe the materials could be old stuff from Argus, giving people an opportunity and a reason to go back to the patch 7.3 content with a fresh, set of eyes. This is obviously all pure speculation, but it's about as likely as the other ideas that people have been suggesting. Perhaps even more so because a lot of people have been suggesting reforging. I doubt Blizzard would add reforging back into the game without a lot of public discussion first. That would be insane. Anyway, I think this is related to the Draenei and to the crafting, especially when you consider where it is located in Valdrakken, but of course, we'll find out soon enough. Also on the PTR, we've got some little moves and shakes. The ping system actually got a huge upgrade, now either being tap or button hold for different features, working a lot more like how pings work in other video games. That means now it's a breeze to use, and mark my words, this will make the game better. Also, those pesky Tuskar tackle boxes plaguing your map are finally being changed to be fish instead of treasures, so you're no longer going to be debated by them everywhere you fly. So, BlizzCon, it's less than 3 months away, and that means it's time for Blizz to start teasing. Mikey Barrett recently has been hyping things up by saying that Chris Metzen and Holly Longdale have got very exciting things to announce for Warcraft. This obviously threw some speculators into overdrive. I mean, all of this combined with the 20th anniversary next year, Thrall being the key art, and of course, Chris Metzen literally being Thrall. All of these things seem relevant. So here's my takeaway. Metzen has a fairly amazing stage presence, right? No harm to the other guys, but he does do that big, deep, growly thing that makes everybody tickled in a special, deep place. Makes everyone happy, right? You hear his big metal voice. So, he's got the voice, he's got the energy to get that crowd going. There's also some major question marks hanging over every part of Warcraft at the minute. Classic Wrath is coming to the close. Dragonflight actually won't be far behind it. Hardcore Classic is soon, right? That's awesome, but it is a cool little experiment, more than it is a humongous content release. You know what that means then? Double expansion announcements. Classic Cataclysm, or whatever the hell they're doing with the Classic project, which will probably be Holly's thing, and then our Void-related live expansion. I say Void-related, I think it'll probably be that. My personal bet and hope is actually in another direction, and you'll find out about that in a video of potential expansions coming out next week. And, hey, if you're a member of our channel or you're one of our patrons over on Patreon, you'll see that video early. Seriously though, Blizzard are hitting this BlizzCon with a full hand of cards. Thrall's voice will only make that better, but funny enough, one of the cards in their hand has recently had a bit of a name change. It is time for WRR! Because Warcraft Arclight Rumble, which had the pretty cool acronym WAR, is now just called Warcraft Rumble. Yeah, it doesn't get that war acronym now, but Warcraft Rumble probably does roll off the tongue a lot better. So this game is finally back in the spotlight after a fairly massive stay in the hyperbolic time chamber that all mobile games go into, that is called soft launch. It now has, I suppose, a slightly harder soft launch happening in the Philippines for testing. Then it'll be going to Australia, Canada, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden over the next few weeks. And that means if I was to place any bets, I think they're going to be hitting the on button globally at BlizzCon. As for the game itself, look, it does actually look genuinely fun. And one of the guys in our team, Laced, who you might have known from his own YouTube channel, he's played a fair amount of it back in its earlier testing, and he said, like, look, you know, this is a pretty damn fun mobile game. Now, of course, after the utter fisting that was Diablo Immortal, Blizzard really do need to be on their best behavior if they don't want another negative PR bomb to come from this one. That said, based on the nature of the game, it would be pretty challenging for them to cock it up that badly. Point is, though, World of Warcraft being better does not give them an excuse to be predatory, psychologically abusing snakes everywhere else. Some housekeeping then. Classic Hardcore is probably going to spark a pretty major resurgence, so if that's on your radar, then Blizzard have got your back, because they've dumped a ton of blog post articles explaining everything that you need to know ahead of its launch, which is August 24th. They'll also have a dedicated WoWcast episode on it next week, and if it's anything like the recent WoWcast episodes, it'll actually be a pretty good watch. So there you have it, a lot of things to muse about, but not a humongous amount of news, and that is because 10.1.7 is pretty much being finished up on the PTR. It's going to be out fairly soon. I think for me the major thing is, when will patch 10.3 be announced, right? Because if 10.3 is announced before BlizzCon, then BlizzCon gets to be 100% the next expansion, and I think that would be ideal. It would actually remind me of the situation that brought us into the Shadowlands. Wasn't that fun? Where patch 8.3 had its announcement, like before BlizzCon. They did like a 20-minute YouTube video about it. It was kind of like a little mini BlizzCon panel. It was actually pretty good. It was better than the oddly forced, like, faux interview things they do now. So seriously, like, just do a Perun video about it. You'll know that reference if you know. Anyway, just get Ian in front of a presentation, have him point at things, and have him speak. I imagine, though, we'll find out about 10.3, and then in a week or two, it'll be BlizzCon, and that'll be 11.0. Pretty damn speedy few months. Okay, let me know what you're expecting. Of course, if you want to support us, one of the best ways you can do that is doing things like picking up the Collector's Edition double vinyl, that's it. It's, you know, 2 vinyls, 4 sides, gorgeous art, gorgeous interior as well. Ooh, yum. Yes, For the Pale Beyond, this is directly from our art team. There's also an art book and our collector's edition on store.bellular.games as well. With that said, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time.